Hello, hello. I'm hoping that someone is online. It's Sally here coming to you live. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Lauren. Oh, we're all coming on. Fantastic. Hey, Gail. So basically, I wanted to set up this webinar. I've just launched my new The Mama website. Hey, Sue. Hey, Gun. And I'm really excited about it. So this is just collaborating basically my 18 years of knowledge in the industry and, you know, how I've really enjoyed putting all this stuff together for you, but also, I guess, moving forward is refining what I've learnt. Hey, everyone coming on. I'm just going to do a couple of things here. Just going to start sharing my PowerPoint that I've got with you. So hopefully you can see this PowerPoint. So welcome along if you're all joining in now. Got 8 on, fantastic. Okay, so this is the Hormone Balance Masterclass. Okay, all right. Now, I'm pretty new to Zoom, so just excuse me if I'm fumbling around a little bit here. But this is it. So welcome along. Like I said, I've studied biosignature, which is the correlation of hormones and how they correlate to stubborn areas of body fat for, well, I've pretty much practiced it myself for going on 9 years. And before that, I did a little bit of everything in the fitness industry. So in total, I've really nailed, I guess, what I believe is the best way to stay healthy lifelong. And when you look at the hormones that govern certain areas of your body, it makes a lot of sense. And when we go through each section today, you'll understand why it is so important to balance your hormones, particularly when it comes to your body fat composition. So I have to keep an eye on the time because I want to go around about the 40-minute mark. I'm pretty sure it cuts out after about 40 minutes, so I've got to talk fast. So welcome if you're still joining. Who have we got now? We've got some more people. Yay. All right. So what is biosignature? So some of you know I've been around for many years in the fitness industry, and years ago I did my biosignature modulation course. So I went overseas, I did some study there, and they've developed basically a system that uncovers the correlation between body fat distribution and hormone imbalances, which I was talking about before. All these things, they cause stubborn areas of body fat, poor sleep, low energy, impaired cognitive or brain function, and a lot of other health issues. They're now linking things like estrogen dominance, for example, to breast cancer. So not only is these hormone imbalances that we're seeing out there, you know, not giving us the best quality of life and keeping us lean and healthy, they're also giving us a lot of other serious issues. So type 2 diabetes would be another one, polycystic ovary, which is an insulin resistance condition. This modulation, or this biosignature modulation, it really pinpoints, you know, the things that we can do in regards to nutrition, training, supplementation, and lifestyle modifications to correct these hormone imbalances. Now, I'm not expecting you to change everything overnight, but I'm a big believer in education, and I'm a big believer when we have the education that we need, or the information that we need, we can obviously then go, all right, well, you know, you can make an informed decision based on your knowledge so far. So if you've joined us today, congratulations in even just rocking up, because it's a big move to take your Sunday afternoon out to even come along. A little bit more about me. I've been a personal trainer for 18 years. If you're just joining us now, you know, my husband and I, we took over a gym up on the Sunshine Coast about 9 months, nearly 10 months ago now. We're having our first baby. I don't know if you can see my little belly here, if I am appearing in the corner. But there's lots of things going on, and one thing I've found is that this knowledge that I learned nearly going on 9 years ago now has really helped me in all stages of my life. So we're going to be looking at that today too. So the topics we will uncover today is eat, train, supplement, and live for hormone balance. So we can tie basically hormones into every aspect of what we do. So it's not just about the food we eat. It's not just about the type of training we do. It's not even just about the supplementation if you have a few sups here and there. It's actually your lifestyle as well. So we'll go through all that and just get a handle or a little bit of a bit of knowledge on that, so you can start to make some choices with your lifestyle as well. The first one we're going to cover is eat for hormone balance. So a lot of you, if you've attended my talks before, you've probably seen I've talked a lot on insulin. Insulin is a key hormone for fat loss, so we will be looking at how what we eat affects insulin production. We're looking at also dopamine and serotonin. So they're our mood or our feel-good and attention hormones, which we'll go through again. And there's certain foods that we can eat to help produce more of those two hormones, which not only, helps our waistline, but it also can help our quality of life and our moods throughout the day. Our hunger hormones, so how our diet influences the hunger and appetite hormone. So a lot of people that have issues with portion size and they wonder why they're hungry all the time, or perhaps they're not hungry in the morning, or they binge eat at night. A lot of that's influenced by these two hormones I'm going to speak about today. So very good to have a knowledge of how they work in your body and what we can do to help balance them out. So the first one we're going to look at is insulin sensitivity or insulin as a whole, and how we can, control this hormone to control body fat storage. So insulin, every time you eat a carbohydrate, it secretes from your pancreas. Now, its job in the body is to transport energy in the form of glucose to your muscles. But what ends up happening is if we produce too much insulin, rather than it being used for energy, we start to store it as body fat. And that's what's happened with people that have type 2 diabetes, people that have insulin resistance conditions. Often it's off the back end of, enjoying a little bit too much of the good stuff, as I like to say, and just not being aware of too much carbohydrates or the wrong type of carbohydrates in the diet, and what they're actually doing to, make your insulin not be as efficient as what it should be. So the opposite to insulin sensitivity is insulin resistance, and that causes you to stop metabolizing carbs. So once you get to a point where you've indulged in carbs for a long period of time, you'll build up that insulin resistance. So what we want to do is reverse that insulin resistance to become more insulin sensitive, and as a result, you'll store less body fat. But what you'll find too is that you'll also metabolize carbohydrates better, which is what it's all about. So how do we balance insulin? So the first thing you want to do is look at your overall carbohydrate intake throughout the day. And we want to choose low insulin response carbs. So basically that means that the lower the insulin response, meaning the less insulin that food creates, or less insulin response that food creates, means that you're going to control your insulin or your blood sugar. So whatever foods help control your blood sugar will also help control your insulin levels. Increase insulin sensitivity by choosing the right foods. So not only can we decrease the insulin response or choose insulin response carbohydrates, we can also increase our insulin sensitivity by eating certain foods. So with things like good fats, for example, would be fantastic if you're not already starting to add those into your nutrition plan. I know there's quite a lot of, diets on the market at the moment. You've got Mediterranean, keto, they're all, promoting a higher fat diet. So again, looking at insulin in the body, it makes sense that these diets, which we'll go into finding something sustainable for you for the long term, but it makes a lot of sense that adding more of these fats into your nutrition plan on a daily basis is actually making you more insulin sensitive. You're metabolizing carbohydrates better, and you're actually storing less fat. Insulin, generally where we see that store excess body fat is around your love handle area and also your back. So when you start to address insulin through your nutrition plan, you'll find that those two areas will start to shrink, which is always a nice thing. But that's insulin in a nutshell there. See if there's some more people. Oh, I've got a few more people. Welcome, welcome. So eat for hormone balance. We're balancing dopamine and serotonin for fat loss. So this is our next topic here. So dopamine, this is a hormone that's secreted, or a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters and hormones are basically the same thing. They're just sending little signals around the body to tell your body what to do. So people kind of get this sort of hype of what hormones actually are, but all hormones are neurotransmitters. So they tell your body, how to feel, how to think, if you're hungry, if you're not. So it's a good way to remember it as well. So dopamine is the hormone of motivation and drive. This is the thing that gets us up in the morning. This is the thing that, when you're doing a good session in the gym, you've got that drive and you're feeling, like you can push that little bit harder or push yourself that little bit harder. So dopamine secretes when we're doing that. Serotonin is the opposite. So it's that wind down hormone. It's that feeling of well-being when you're getting a massage or when you're on holidays and you just take that deep breath in and you go, it's good to be alive. That's that serotonin increase, or that serotonin hormone that really makes you feel relaxed. So we want to have a balance of both. Often what we're finding now, and when we get on to Live for Hormone Balance, I'll go more into this, is that people are secreting too much dopamine and there's not enough serotonin, and this is causing a lot of the mood issues and mental issues that you're seeing around today. Now, when we're on our electronics specifically, we're secreting dopamine because it puts us in a state of constant focus. And when you're scrolling your newsfeed, or you're tuning into something like this, or reading your emails, or reading a messenger message, or whatever kind of comes up on your phone as a notification, you start to secrete dopamine. So it makes you focus, and we want dopamine, but we want it secreted at the right time of day, and we want to shut off dopamine of an evening, and we want to try and secrete more serotonin. So this is going to help other hormones like cortisol balance. So we know cortisol is another fat storing hormone. So if these two hormones aren't in balance, it'll start to throw out the other ones, and again, this can lead to stubborn areas of body fat. So if you are addressing a lot of this stuff through your nutrition plan, but you're still finding that you've got those stubborn areas of body fat, then look at the dopamine, serotonin, look at the balance between motivation and drive and productivity, and contentment and relaxation. So, basically more of the stuff that relaxes us of an evening is definitely advisable. Now, with dopamine foods in the AM, these are things that have an amino acid called tyrosine. So foods like beef, lamb, seeds, eggs, and beans. I've got a whole list of more of these foods that help with dopamine production. It's good to know which ones are great that help switch on this neurotransmitter, because you want to be having more of this during the day, particularly if you work at an office job. It's definitely good to know what foods to eat that don't sort of put you asleep, and they help you stay focused during the day. At night, we want to start to wind down. So the amino acid tryptophan really helps to wind you down. So tryptophan is in foods like dark chocolate, dried dates and turkey. Often, when we eat things like dark chocolate and things that are kind of higher in carbohydrates, often we'll get that kind of serotonin release, which can be, one of the reasons why we love eating foods, sometimes not the right foods to calm down or to relax, because it does actually elevate our serotonin. But there is a lot of good nutritious foods that also can, help manufacture or produce more serotonin foods. So it's good to know some of those. And like I said, the ones that have more L-tryptophan, which is an amino acid, will help with that. The next and the last topic on Eat for Hormone Balance is controlling our hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin. So these are two that are coming into, more mainstream at the moment. And basically leptin is the hormone that tells your body that you've had enough to eat. So it's the satiety hormone. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells your body you're hungry. So again, these hormones can actually imbalance from anything from, not eating enough food to not getting enough sunlight. There's a lot of different things that can imbalance these hormones. So I've just got three things here, and I hope you've printed out your notebook so you can go through each thing and jot down notes. But don't diet and restrict calories. So when we go in these kind of yo-yo diets, or we go in things that we feel like we're missing out, your body will start to produce more ghrelin. So if you're eating food that you don't actually enjoy that much, it's not obviously going to satisfy you, or you're going to feel like, you're continuously hungry. So one of the things they say to reduce the ghrelin, so we're not constantly hungry and binge eating, is that we want to not restrict calories, and we don't want to diet, all right? So if you're on an eating plan at the moment and you're like, I don't know if I can sustain this, or I get 2 days into it and I want to binge eat, it's not sustainable, and as a result, the hormones that are affected will often cause you more grief in the long run. So learning about hormones and how they correlate to your food choices and everything in life, it really sets you up for that lifelong mindset when it comes to body fat loss. So have load days as well. So load days we go more into in the workbooks, but load days is basically having a higher calorie or a higher carb day. So often, if you've done my accountability courses out there, you'll notice that there's usually 1 to 2 days a week where you can go a little bit nuts, and it really helps to set these hormones up. Now, load days work really well if you're eating a good balanced diet and you're having healthy nutrition, and then you just have those two kind of lash out days. So it's good to know that your hormones will actually be helped when you have those two lash out days. And often I have them based around my lifestyle. So Lucas and I will often have these days, usually on a Friday or a Saturday. At the moment, baby gets what baby wants. So, but fortunately, I haven't really been feeling like too much of the not so good stuff. Was different in my first trimester, but definitely, having those not so much non-healthy days, because you still want to have good calories, so you still want to choose good carbohydrates and raw treats, which you can see in the background there. I think Candy from Accountability might have made them. So we can choose good clean ingredients, but they'll be higher carb, higher calories, and that's going to help our hormones and help us stay on track lifelong. The more sunshine that we have can actually help increase leptin. So leptin, again, is that hormone that tells us that we're satisfied. So if you feel like you've got insatiable hunger and you go get your D3 or your vitamin D levels tested and it comes back low, then that's possibly one of the reasons why that leptin could be low. So you want to increase leptin, decrease ghrelin. D3 is basically good for so many different things. They've found now that people that have obesity, and particularly in kids, they're finding that correlation is coming back to low D3 levels. So you can stand out in the sun during the day, or you can take a D3 vitamin. The sunshine during the day, usually only 10 minutes of direct sunlight, and they generally say that when your shadow is shorter than you, that's when you're producing more vitamin D. So if you're standing out in the afternoon and your shadow is quite long, often you're not producing much D3. So that's a good little way to remember if you're out at the right time of day to get the best D3 production. The last one is avoid highly palatable processed foods. So foods with a bliss point. So what I was talking about today, before when we were talking about load days, is that when we have things like, bad carbs or processed food, a bliss point is basically manufactured to set off a neurotransmitter in your brain to keep telling you want more. So ghrelin is that hunger hormone that tells us that we're not satisfied, that we want to keep eating more, and same with leptin. So basically, by avoiding those processed foods, the foods that are manufactured with the bliss point, you're actually helping leptin and ghrelin be balanced. So if these hormones aren't balanced, it can throw, obviously your whole appetite out. So eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. If you're feeling like that's not really working for you, or you're overeating, or you're not hungry, so some people that aren't producing ghrelin, or they have metabolism issues, or they struggle to even hold muscle weight, often again these things in front of you, these points in front of you, can help to actually put on healthy weight or muscle weight as well. So in a nutshell, sticking to those good carbohydrates even on your load days, so your raw treats and your nutritionally dense, good carbohydrates will help with these two hormones as well. The next one we're looking at is train for hormone balance. So some of the points here, we've got strength training and hormone balance, best training methods for hormone balance, and duration and weekly overview. So with the strength training and hormone balance, what we're finding is that it improves DHEA production. So DHEA is a hormone that helps balance out your sex hormones, so testosterone and estrogen. I was talking about it before, the estrogen dominance issues that are around at the moment, linking that back to breast cancer. So estrogen dominance doesn't necessarily mean you've got high estrogen, because when you're going into your menopausal years, and your postmenopausal years, you can actually be depleted in estrogen. It's actually just that the ratio of estrogen to testosterone and progesterone is higher. So that causes a lot of issues for women, which we'll address when we get into the supplement area as well. But basically what you want to do is anything that helps reduce that estrogen dominance, so it can help balance sex hormones out, is going to be good for lifelong fat loss and obviously improve your quality of life, particularly if you're going through that later stage. It's also fantastic for PMS symptoms. So you might be a bit younger and still not really managing that time of the month. So strength training can help with DHEA production, which helps level out those other hormones. DHEA has been dubbed as kind of like the anti-aging hormone, and often the beauty industry, has DHEA creams and all the rest. But we can naturally have that fountain of youth in our strength training. So if you want to lift, more weights and get into a really good quality strength training program, you're going to get a lot of those DHEA benefits there. So stop spending the money on the DHEA, anti-aging creams, and get into the gym and lift weights, I say. Increased DHEA improves hormonal issues like PMS and menopause, which I just covered, and it also improves insulin sensitivity. So again, what it does is it helps to increase the amount of insulin receptors in the body. So what that means in short is that when you have more insulin receptors, you're actually going to be metabolizing carbohydrates much, much better. So in short, rather than when you eat a carbohydrate, if you're insulin resistant, it stores as body fat, you'll actually use it for fuel. So our main goal really with strength training is to get the best hormone response possible. So we become more insulin sensitive and we start to produce more DHEA. I think I mentioned it before, but your DHEA does reduce as you age. So you want to retain the muscle that you have, if not improve it, to keep those hormones nice and balanced. I've had some great testimonies of people that have gone to their doctor in their 60s. They've taken up high volume strength training and their doctor's come back and says, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. So again and again, we are definitely seeing this correlation between high volume strength training, particularly in females, and their hormones are really starting to shape up and get really nice and balanced, which is good. So some of the best training methods for hormone balance. Now, we talk about in our programming, if you're doing accountability, we're talking about tempos, sets and rep ranges. So tempos are basically the pace at which you lift the weight. As a rule of thumb, most of our lifting will be slow as we lower the weight and faster as we lift the weight. And we want to vary tempos to create different training effects or different hormone responses, but a combination of, you know, slower tempos and faster tempos. You basically just want to keep the muscle guessing. So every 28 days or 4 weeks, generally, I would say if you're, you know, if you're a beginner or even if you're someone that's quite advanced, is rotate your program so that you keep your body guessing. What I find with some people, if they continue to do the same tempos, sets and rep ranges for a period of time, their body will actually stop having that hormone response. So if you make it a rule of thumb where every 4 weeks or 28 days, you're mixing it up, that'll really help with keeping on that hormone health journey and keep stimulating hormone production like your DHEA and like your, you know, improving your insulin receptors. The sets or the volume is the amount of times we work through an exercise. So for example, if you're doing a giant set, you might have maybe 7 exercises in a set. So you'd work through that, the whole circuit before you move on to the next exercise. Basically with sets, as a rule of thumb, again, for the best hormone response, is that you want to have no less than 4 rounds or 4 sets. And if you're really serious about putting on some muscle, I would definitely say even go up to 10 sets. When I used to do my muscle sculpting shows, oh my gosh, like 10 sets, it sounds like torture, but my gosh, it worked. So again, if you're really serious about taking your body and your hormone health to the next level, looking at some of those high volume training programs are really going to be beneficial for the long term. Rep ranges, how many times we lift a weight in one set. So again, we vary that. We don't want to sit too high. So things like Les Mills body pump, if you've ever done that class, if you continue to just do that muscle endurance or high rep training, again, your body will stop that hormone response. So you might find initially, and this might be true for some of you, you might have got a really good you know, response to Les Mills body pump in the first month, and then your body plateaued. So basically what you want to do there is you want to have a variety of rep ranges in your program. Train for hormone balance is the last topic. So we're looking at 30 to 45 minutes. Anything over 45 minutes, if it's not restorative, meaning if it's not a stretch, is often counterproductive. So for good hormone health, we can get a fantastic high volume strength training session in no longer than 45 minutes to get the best hormone benefits. And everyone says, yay, because really that, you know, we all are time poor. So we want to get the best results in, you know, the less amount of time possible. The next thing is a split program. So you want to work separate muscles on different days. Now, if you're pretty new to strength training, you may find that, again, you know, you might start with a full body program and then progress to split program because you can get quite sore. But it's definitely for, again, optimal hormone response is to work a split program in your strength training. 3 to 6 days per week with 1 compulsory rest day. So often with hormone balance is if we burn the candle at both ends and we're overtraining, or we risk overtraining if we're training more than, you know, even more than 5 days, you can sometimes put yourself in that higher bracket for overtraining. Again, that can be counterproductive. So 3 good quality strength training sessions a week will get a great hormone response, and up to 6 days if you're quite serious at, you know, changing there. All right, live for hormone balance. I can't see how I'm going for time, so I'll see how I go. But also this will be there'll be a replay on this, which I'll send you. So I'm just getting a couple of messages now. People are trying to log on, or they thought they'd automatically be connected, I think. But anyway, so live for hormone balance. We've got sleep and its impact. We've got electronics and its impact. And we have stress and its impact on hormone balance. So all these things, you know, really don't help that longevity of wanting to balance our hormones and shred fat for life. So we want to look at each of these things and, you know, how they correlate to stubborn areas of body fat. So live for hormone balance. Sleep is a big one. So when we're lacking in sleep, often what happens is we decrease our, increase our ghrelin. So when we're sleep deprived, and you know, you probably relate to this, is that you just feel hungry all the time. Cortisol and insulin resistance with quality sleep as well will help be health improved. So very, very important to get good quality sleep in. I know it's a luxury for some of you, but again, this is just education for you. Where possible, you know, you need to have those naps. I know I'm about to become a mum, so you're probably all thinking, oh, you're going to know about it soon enough. But I know with the hormones, you know, you can become a little bit more emotionally intelligent when you understand that a lot of the hormone imbalances are coming from those lifestyle issues. So, you know, it's having those little things that you can do, like sleep in a dark room, nap during the day. Oh, I love it. Okay, they've removed the 40-minute time limit of my first group meeting. Okay, that's great. So I thought I had only 40 minutes, so here we go. I can talk longer. So dark room, same type bedtime, and to go to bed, and arise time daily. No electronics before bed. I know that's hard. Look, I run my accountability groups, and I'm starting to get into a routine of being on my phone more in the mornings, and it's made a world of difference. So if you can have a little bit of a boundary for yourself there, it'll really help with these hunger hormones and these fat loss hormones. I love having a sleep mask on if I am napping during the day, because it'll just put you into that sort of deeper sleep. When we're in our deepest sleep, we shut down cortisol production. So that's where we get that restorative sleep. And look, our lives are so busy, you know, we all burn the candle at both ends. So sleep is so important and so almost underestimated for fat loss. I say hydration and sleep, you know, if you can get those two things right, and they don't cost you an arm and a leg. So it doesn't cost you anything to sleep, and it doesn't cost you much if you're drinking filtered water. You know, it might be different, or we buy a filter, but it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to stay hydrated. So that's always good to find, you know, holistic ways or holistic approaches. The next one, oh, it's decided not to work. Just did a little, oh, there we go. Live for hormone balance, we've got electronic use. So I've already gone through improving dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol production. Have a cutoff time for your electronics. One thing I find is that today, really, you know, people expect you to get back to them really, really quickly. So often what I find is that if you kind of share your journey, encourage others to become more aware of their overuse as well, you kind of do it together. So that's something that I would challenge you to do if you're going on a bit of electronic detox. Just tell people, look, I'm trying to improve my quality of life. Sally told me I've got to get my hormones balanced and shred fat for life. So, you know, these things, you sort of need a bit of discipline, but it helps to get support. So share your journey, encourage other people to become more aware. Now it's telling me I've got 7 minutes left, so I've got to keep going here. Time management strategies, stop distractions. So how often do we get so distracted by Facebook and, you know, all those things that we sort of, you know, it steers us away, it increases our dopamine. We've got so many things that we have to focus on at the moment. And I really find that if you have time in your day set out to do restorative things, things that switch off your mind, where you're not having to focus or be so focused, it really helps to balance the hormones. Think big picture. So often, and when we get really, you know, into the stress and the nitty gritty of life, it can be hard to relax and reduce that serotonin. We always feel like we've got to be on and keep going and going and going. So now knowing that that's not really good to help your waistline, it's not great for your quality of life. It's really good to set goals and do things that you enjoy versus always having to do things that, you know, you feel like you're required to do, or at least have a good, you know, have a good gauge of what makes you feel good every day, and that will help with that serotonin production and the balance there. All right, the last topic I've got 6 minutes to go. We've got our supplements for hormone health. So I've just got 3 categories here. The first one's your belly fat. So chelated magnesium reduces cortisol. So we definitely want to get into some magnesium, particularly if you do have restless sleep, if you're not falling asleep or you're waking up at night. There's heaps of good brands. I love the Poliquin range, obviously, because they're really all about the biosignature. EPA fish oil, which EPA dominant is one that really helps with inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So this improves insulin sensitivity, which we know all about. And then fenugreek is a herb. It's in a supplement called Fenuplex, and I've got more information on this stuff if you need it. And that's really good for slowing down carbohydrate absorption. So again, controls your blood sugar, controls your insulin, helps with your waistline, back fat, really good for that, midsection fat. Cortisol's more around the navel. So again, if you're storing stuff around the navel in particular, or that lower cortisol pouch, I like to call it. Can't really demonstrate it at the moment because I've got my baby in there, but it's just that little bit of belly fat or cortisol pouch. We've got lower body fat. So L-glycine, that's an amino acid that helps with liver detoxification, fantastic for lowering estrogen. So when we have high estrogen or estrogen dominance, as I said before, not necessarily high estrogen, but you're more dominant in estrogen than your other hormones, often cellulite will appear and you'll get that lower sort of saddlebag look. So L-glycine, definitely such a great addition if you are looking at investing in some supplements. That would just be taken with your water. Cal D-glutarate, it's not actually a calcium, it actually helps with eliminating excess or what we call xenestrogens from your GI tract or your intestines. So that helps with phase 2 detoxification. That helps get all those nasties out of your body much, much quicker than if you didn't have the Cal D-glutarate. You can do other things to help detoxification, which doesn't necessarily mean buying supplements. You can do infrared sauna, but supplements are usually quite an easy way of getting a detoxification and a clean out. L-glutamine, fantastic, life-changing for some people, improves detoxification pathways. So they're just 3 supplements that I would use if this is a bit of an area for you that you want to improve. Poor detoxification, usually you'll find that you're not going frequently to the toilet or you're not going number 1s and 2s. For hormonal issues, D3 I've talked about before, definitely for insulin resistance issues. Folic acid, activated B vitamins. I've got Poliquin, I've got a great range. There are some Australian brands as well, so if you do want more information about any of those. The wild yam helps with progesterone, so if we're trying to balance out our progesterone and our estrogen, then it definitely will help the Mexican wild yam. Accountability is the missing link in online courses. So this really what adheres the education that you've learnt today to helping you stay on track. Now, I've only got 2.5 minutes, so I'm going to fly through this. So this is basically, getting you thinking about, well, how am I going to apply all this knowledge that I've learnt today? So I've got a 4-week hormone balance accountability course that I've run. Now, I've ran accountability courses in the past. This has more of a hormone health focus, I guess. And it's a course, not a challenge. And the reason it's a course is because it's about education. I don't want temporary change for you guys. I actually want to see lifelong change. Daily accountability means that you will action what you learn. And we only really change with action. And, who agrees with that? If you're a teacher out there, people don't change unless they action things daily. So it takes a little bit of work initially, but it gets easier. This is what's included in your 4-week accountability package. So you get a training program, you get private Facebook group, weekly tutorials, meal plan shopping list, and daily accountability coaching. 40 pages, so these workbooks will cover everything we've learned today and more. So you've got those, and I've been working really hard on them, and I think you'll enjoy the content in those. Then we've got your hormone our balance training program. So the high volume training program, and it's got all your video tutorials. So you can click the link and go into any of the website here and click the links there. You get your weekly overview as well. So it's all very self-explanatory. These can be done from home with basic equipment, or you can do them in the gym. I film them pregnant. So if you are pregnant, I've done modifications. And I've got less than a minute, so I'm really going to fly here. So this is our support group. I've got the weekly tutorials I do on hormone balance throughout the 4 weeks. There's a little insight into your book that you'll get for your food. The check-in, so you do a biosignature, modulation, sleep, nutrition, and exercise diary. And that's it, guys. So basically it starts tomorrow. So if you're keen to start implementing the knowledge that you've learnt today, you can go to the website and sign up. There's a link there that says accountability hormone balance course. So you can sign up there. It's probably going to cut out on me. So I'm hoping that it keeps going for a little bit. But then if you want to stay connected, I've got my